Regional variants were introduced in Gen 7 Alola, and while some gave us well-deserved improvements to mons that needed it badly, some ended up being a disappointment and let us down bigly. So we're going to do my first rankings list, the top 5 best and top 5 worst regional forms. Bit of a disclaimer, these are my opinions and aren't to be taken as objective truths, so don't roast me in the comments too hard when I start dissing your favorite crapmon. And before you comment that I missed certain mons, I'm not including completely new mons like Sirfetch'd, Clodsire, or Overqwil since they aren't regional forms themselves. With that said, let's go over the ranking criteria. First, we want to see how good these Pokemon perform competitively. I'm basing this mostly on singles as that's what I'm more familiar with, but I will start taking VGC more into consideration. Second, we want to compare the regional form to the original. Do they make improvements or are they pretty much the same or worse off? Starting with some honorable mentions for the best, these are a few mons I just had to mention since it was so hard limiting it to 5. Maybe I should do a tier list in the future? Alolan Ninetales, the premier hail setter, very great mon with fast fail support. Hisuian Arcanine, an absolute nuke with the ability Rockhead and spammable stab moves to abuse it. Galarian Corsola, a deadly and super annoying mon to face if you don't have the tools or knockoff support. Hisuian Lilligant, this was on the list originally, but the OG Lilligant has enough presence in VGC to limit the Hisuian variant to an honorable mention. Galarian Weezing, great defensive typing and ability choices with solid bulk and support tools. Hisuian Goodra, amazing typing with nasty bulk and solid offenses, nearly made it on the list. And here's a few more that didn't make the cut due to being outclassed or very close to the original forms. We're going to start with the stinkers now. In 5th we have Alolan Dugtrio. Design wise, it actually has some more personality than before. It got a better typing defensively for sure, even though it added some common weaknesses. What I don't enjoy is they took 10 points from its really good 120 base speed and put it into defense. This mon is supposed to be a glass cannon, but with 35 base HP it isn't really tanking much, so giving it less mons it can outspeed doesn't do it any favors. Regular Dugtrio has always been controversial because of its amazing ability Arena Trap, so it's been hanging out in OU or Ubers for many gens, at least until Arena Trap gets banned. The Alolan form has always been mediocre, sitting in the lowest tiers. Tangling Hair as an ability isn't really doing much for it either, as it's too frail to really take advantage of. It's just a below average ability in general, but it can still be a decent mon with solid attack and still decent speed, so we'll just sit at 5 on this list for now. For 5th best we have Tauros Paldea Aqua. Who knew a great typing was really all this mon needed to gain some viability back. Although this mon was a victim of a reduced speed stat like Dugtrio, it made up for it by placing the 10 points into attack. With Intimidate, a solid 105 base defense, and solid 75 HP, this mon can be pretty tanky, especially when it was checking the early Scarlet and Violet meta threats like Chien-Pao and King Gambit. Those mons were running wild, and Tauros' nice typing resisted all their stab attacks. Now it sits in the RU tier where it can rock an offensive choice attacking set, or use a bulk up attacking set. The regular Tauros, on the other hand, has been sitting in NU or lower since Gen 4, so this is truly an upgrade on the former Gen 1 OU King. 4th worst is one you might not expect to see, but I had to include it in here. It is Galarian Rapidash. When it was revealed, I was pretty hyped for an actual unicorn Pokemon, and even though both of these mons are in the untiered, I feel like this variant has a lot less going for it than the original. They gave this mon the Fairy type, which fits perfect, but why did they have to throw on the Psychic typing? It would have been so much better as a Fire and Fairy Pokemon. As a physically based mons, Psychic types do not get many strong tools. In Rapidash's case, you have Zen Headbutt, which is only 80 power and can miss. Then we have Play Rough as its Fairy option, which is a little stronger but can also miss. So we have no actual reliable stab options, really, when we get out Flare Blitz hitting hard and reliably. You can go with its lower special attack if you want reliable attacks, but it doesn't even get Moonblast. Ability-wise, the original has a couple useful abilities in Flame Body and Flash Fire, while the Galarian variant really just has Pastel Veil, which could be nice in doubles protecting your partners, but this seems like another attempt of trying to give a crap mon a niche in doubles by giving it a doubles base ability. No! In singles at least, any poison mon will just click the super effective poison attack. And I don't see many mons trying to toxic this rail mon, so it really just works as a toxic pivot, which at that point just grab yourself a poison or steel type. For best mons, we have Alolan Marowak in the 4th spot. Marowak has always been a pretty cool mon in my opinion, with a sad story about Cubones wearing their deceased mother's skull. So having it gain the ghost typing when it evolves in Alola is pretty freaking cool. Gaining the fire type gave this Pokemon a deadly stab combo, and actually provided a niche for this Pokemon on Trick Room teams as a pretty impressive wall breaker. What this mon improved upon from the underwhelming base form are a few things. First, the dual stab with strong spammable moves combined with Thick Club makes this Pokemon annoying to switch into. Second, it can actually use its abilities effectively now. It can spam Flare Blitz with no recoil thanks to Rock Head, or gain a third immunity with Lightning Rod and totally shut down common mons like Tapu Koko and Zeraora. And third, we have the typing in general. It has a couple more weaknesses than the base form, sure, but now it has 2 to 3 immunities instead of 1, and 7 resistances instead of just 2. This makes it way easier to get this mon into battle and tank hits in general with its solid bulk. It is even pretty good outside Trick Room in the middle tiers, but definitely shines more when it's claiming bodies in OU. Moving on to the third worst is Stunfisk. With this mon they did that thing where they changed a special attacker into the physical, which is cool I guess since Earthquake is more powerful than Earth Power, but they gave this guy the steel typing, and look at its steel move pool. The only physical steel move it gets is Metal Claw at 50 power. Regular Stunfisk wasn't amazing by any means, but at least had good stab options. It also had a useful ability in Static. Galarian Stunfisk's signature and only ability is Mimicry, which changes this mon's type depending on terrain. Cool concept, and wow, they introduced a cool new move called Terrain Pulse in the same gen that Stunfisk has access to. Too bad it's special and they took all this guy's special attack away. Well, they at least gave it a signature move Snap Trap, right? Yep, and for some reason it is a grass type move and it has 35 base power. So many baffling decisions when making this mon. It could have made Snap Trap a steel type physical Magma Storm. This mon would still be crap, but it would at least gave it something. Talking about this mon is getting me worked up, so let's move on to the next good mon. Third best we have Alolan Muck. This mon actually got so much better with the added dark typing and is my favorite on this list. It reduces its weakness counter to just the ground type. And in its debut gen, it was good against all 4 of the Tapus who seem to be running around everywhere. But my favorite thing about this mon is that its base has been in NU and PU for so long, and this Alolan form gave it a certain set of skills to have a niche in the Ubers tier. With its dark poison type and solid special bulk, it could run pretty good Assault Vest sets to take on behemoths like Xerneas, Deoxys, Mega Gengar, and Mega Mewtwo-Y. Thanks to not being weak to fighting like Tyranitar, it could be an effective Pursuit Trapper to these mons and threaten Xerneas with its Poison Stab. It also received tools like Knockoff over T-Tar, Toxic Spikes and Shadow Sneak for mons like Lunala, or a last-ditch effort to activate Poison Touch. Talk about your glow up, no pun intended. Alolan Muck is the real deal and even sat at UU by usage in its debut gen and is currently UU right now. The second worst regional variant is everyone's favorite rodent, Raticate. Now this one really perplexed me. They tried to make this mon bulky, which they didn't, it's still frail. Then they gave it more weaknesses including times 4 to fighting, weakness to U-turn, and the popular fairy type. But they added just a dark resist and psychic immunity. Oh yeah, now this mon is slower too, and weaker, with a way less reliable ability to supplement its weak attacking potential. They massacred this mon who is already down so bad that it's been in the lowest tiers ever since it debuted in Gen 1. They didn't have to go even further with the rat hatred. The only positive I can find is Stab Sucker Punch and Knockoff. But imagine if this mon didn't lose 20 speed and instead gave it attack. It would be a lot better. And let's get rid of Hustle and bring back Guts so we can have Flame War boosted Facade and Sucker Punches. It might have a chance of not being untiered at that point. Second best regional form is the brand new Samurott. Now this is a perfect example of why regional forms can be a blessing. They put the stats in the right places with this mon, gave it a nice dual typing, a sweet ability, and even a signature move that synergizes with its ability. The regular Samurott didn't really know what it wanted to do. It had solid stats all around, but isn't really great at any one thing, which often leads mons to toil down the tiers looking for a niche until they hit the bottom. Hisuian Samurott knows exactly what it wants to do. It just wants to abuse its new sharpness ability to set up spikes with Ceaseless Edge, which has to be one of the best moves in the game. It also gets plenty of great attacks to abuse sharpness and dual stab priority in Aqua Jet and Sucker Punch. It has found a place in OU as it can act as a hazard lead while threatening crazy damage. With its solid defensive profile, it's also hard to take out in one hit. It did lose a little bulk, but now it hits a way better speed tier. And the more mons it can outspeed and take out, the less hits it has to take. So the trade-off is definitely worth it. And here it is, the number 1 worst regional variant. I'll give you a second to guess. It isn't this guy, nor is it this guy. If you guess this mon, then you're correct. Hisuian Avalugg. This has to be one of the most disrespectful mons that ever been created. When creating this mon, they were thinking, yeah, we want to make this a defensive mon, so let's give it 2 of the most vulnerable defensing typings and a low speed stat to make sure it's always getting hit. They even made it frailer on the special side in order to give it more speed and attack. The attack is fine, sure, but now this mon is outspeeding what? Lechonk? If anything, it makes it worse if you were to use it in Trick Room, but now this mon has 6 weaknesses, 2 of which are times 4 effective, and it's still weak to Stealth Rocks. It only gets a few resistances to mostly uncommon attacking types. They also gave it Strong Jaw as an ability, and you're seeing here the moves it gets access to that take advantage of it. The actual Avalugg isn't looking too shabby in comparison, and has improved a bit this gen, factoring the new snow mechanic, giving it a defense boost and rapid spin speed boosting buff. Moving on to the number 1 best regional variant, it shows the duality of ice types. You probably guessed it, but it's going to be Galarian Darmanitan. This mon really exemplifies the power of multipliers. They gave this mon a crazy ability which is essentially Choice Band. Then they gave it Ice Stab to go along with its already great move pool. And it can freely run Choice Scarf while still having a dummy thick attacking set. This mon got banned to Ubers in its debut generation, as even the fattest of walls in OU are unable to fend it off unless they continuously make correct predictions. And even if they do, Darm almost always packs U-turn to get chip damage and provide a better matchup for its teammates. Even in Ubers, Ice hits many of the Dragon and Ground types super effectively, while Flare Blitz destroys Steel types. Rock Slide takes care of things like Ho-Oh, and you have the move flexibility to run U-turn or Earthquake for Heatran and Kyogre. A lot of the speed tiers land at base 90, and a Scarf Darmanitan outspeeds a lot of defensive mons with higher natural speed. Even the Zen mode form of this mon was hugely buffed with amazing speed, Fire Stab, and higher base attack, losing the Guerrilla Tactics boost, but gaining move flexibility. Compared to the original Darm, this mon is a huge upgrade, which is saying something because the original has been a solid UU mon for some time and hits like an absolute nuke. What regional forms would you put in your top 5? I want to see the best and worst lists in the comments. I'm curious what you all think. I also wanted to thank everyone new for helping me get to over 1,000 YouTube subscribers. This really blew my expectations out of the water, and I really appreciate that there are this many people that want to see my videos. I want to continue to improve my content, and this is a big milestone for that. I'll make my end of the year goal 2,000 subscribers now, but I'm more than happy with the amount of support I've gotten so far. Thanks again for watching, buds, and I'll see you next time.